Hello, everybody. What is glowing on? It is Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and you are here once again with Vonshai and the Glow, our VIP show and tell. We do it every Wednesday here on the Glow. We bring interesting people to you, people that can help you in your business, people who can help you with your life. And so, what we have today is actually, I picked up a book once called The Alchemist. I haven't had a chance to read it. My daughter borrowed it, nobody read it. So, we are going to be exploring today. We're going to see what it is and how does it help, and what things that an alchemist or the study of alchemy could bring to your life, to your business, personally and professionally. So we have a guest. She's actually from New Zealand, but she's actually in Utah today. So her name is Miss Tarryn Winson, and we just like to welcome her here to the Glow. She's having a little bit of technical difficulties, so we're gonna wait to see if she pops on the screen here. But once again, like I said, we're here on the Glow every Wednesday, and we just bring to you different kind of things, just interesting people in business. So during the week, I've been working on a few different things. I've been coaching a few different clients. They are starting different businesses based on passion. I like to help people profit from whatever passion that they have. So I have clients that are doing anything from things that they create personally to businesses to coaching programs, a lot of different things. I also joined a lot of Facebook groups this week. So if you guys are looking to find people who are just like you, start joining different Facebook groups. Get in with other people that are doing something similar to what you do. That way you can have a broader range and a broader scope of what it is that you do. Here at the Glow, we always bring a guest in that can add something to your life. So hopefully we'll get Taryn back on and we'll be able to ask her some questions. Seems like she's coming. Hello, can you hear me, Taryn?
Hello.
How are you?
I sure can. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so good. It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you as well. We had a conversation last week that was very enlightening for both of us. We're just like vibing for a moment. So I invited you to be on the show because a lot of the things that you're working on as far as your business complement business of that I do and a lot of my guests. So can you tell us where are you from, first of all, and what is it that you do? She's frozen. Oh no. So Tara, so she has so much information to bring us. I think her whole signal is getting mixed up right now. We are trying to get with her so we can find out what is the life of alchemy, and we can learn about her business and learn what it is that she could do to help us. So right now, while we're waiting for her to pop up, I do have some questions, and I'm gonna start throwing out some questions to some of our people who are watching. So if you're watching now, if you're watching later, I'll read it in the comments. But I'm gonna ask you to pick a number if you're watching, and I will ask you a question, and then you gotta give me an answer. So pick a number. Oh, here we go. We got
Fantastic.
Taryn. You're
Oh,
back.
I am sorry. I am trying to stay connected to the most stable internet connection there is.
Okay.
So pick a number.
Yes,
Hmm,
pick a
Pick a
number
number
between
between what and what?
one and 1 and 40.
Ooh. 12.
12. Okay. So number 12, the question is, when you have 30 minutes of free time, what do you do?
Mm. Ooh. When I have 30 minutes of free time, usually I'll read
Okay.
something. At the moment, it's a bit of a mixture between something metaphysical or quantum. Sometimes it's a bit of fiction, but often it's something that I really want to research that I haven't had time to get stuck into.
Okay. So you just look into something to learn something new. So I was asking you
Yeah.
about the life of alchemy. So can you please
Yes.
share with us, what does that mean? Like, what does it all mean?
Yes. So the alchemy of life is about transformation and transcendence beyond what we are or what we choose to be. So it's that constant evolution. It's like the butterfly, the caterpillar, chrysalis, butterfly evolution. And for me personally, I'm constantly in that state of changing and growing and learning and evolving. So it's funny when people ask me, often people will say, how well do you know yourself? And I like to say to people, I don't want to know myself because I want to be a different person tomorrow than who I was the day before. So
Mhm.
I am I'm in a committed relationship with myself to constantly evolve beyond who I was before. And so alchemy has been about reconnecting my soul, as I like to call it, to matter. So alchemy is about reconnecting ourselves and our gifts and our genius back into this world, as well as that evolution of excellence. So I have been a perfectionist in the past, and it's been wonderful, and it's definitely a gift that I use, but it also comes with constraint and the disempowered aspects of that gift as well. So it's taking that to the next evolution. So it's making perfection work even more for me in a much more grounded and holistic perspective, if that makes sense. The alchemy is
Yes.
traditionally converting. So I like to think about that too. It's that conversion of who I was to who I can be more of,
Hmm.
expressing that genius of myself and doing the same for others, really helping them reconnect themselves and their gifts to the world, really, through who they're being.
Right. And that's very good. When we were discussing before, sometimes
Mm,
we are, there's so many things going on in the world that sometimes we lose track of who we are. We'll be in a relationship with the person, and then we're like kind of intertwined with that person. We'll be at a job, and we're kind of taking on a bit of the things that come from a business. And all of us, like I watch Facebook, I see people, and all of us are always trying to be our best, absolute best self. And we're evolving, and I'm better, and I'm, all these different things. So
yes.
how do you help people as far as to like,
Mm,
how do you kind of get yourself centered to where you can focus on actually just being who you would like to be, someone you can be in love with?
absolutely. Well, so for me personally or for other people, it depends on what works for you.
Hmm.
So what I'm most fascinated by and curious about is what works for me in reconnecting myself out of my head and into my heart varies depending on the day. So it could be music. It can be, for me, I love to dance. I love to Zumba. So I like to move
Oh,
my
me too.
body, and I love like the vibe and like getting, into a good jam. So putting on some music, um going to a Zumba class, or it could essential oils, or it could be taking a minute to just breathe, or it could be going outside and putting my feet on some grass and being outside with the trees. So for me, I'm learning as I evolve what those things are for me. For most of the people that I work with, what I find is that they're super conscientious. So we spend a lot of time up here in our heads, and we're thinking about ourselves and then the people around us, and then what that person around us is going to need, and then what that person's going to need. So we tend to be 3 steps ahead, and there's a lot of this going on, which kind of takes us away from this heart space sometimes. So it's finding what is it that my clients and my um, and people that I work with can use to take a minute to go, oh my gosh, I'm in my crazy monkey brain and things are a little bit crazy. And how can I ground myself back into my heart space? Because being comes from here, not from there. The doing tends to come from here. So we're human beings, not human doings. And
Right.
finding what it is that works for people individually to reconnect them into their heart space is part of the fun. It's part of the puzzle, depending on the person that I'm working with.
Right. And I know that when you spoke to everybody being a perfectionist, it's a curse, and it's also a gift, because sometimes, like, at a perfectionist, sometimes I'll paint or I'll do something and it's never done because it's never right, never good
Right.
enough. It's like I could have stopped way long time ago, but I kept going because it has to be perfect. And sometimes you just beat yourself up because you keep going and going and going. It's like I probably messed it up because I probably should have stopped a long time ago. So
Yeah.
being a perfectionist
Yeah.
is like you said, it's all in your head, and everybody's out
Yeah.
there trying to do business so perfectly and do
Yes.
everything so perfectly that they're not even.
Mhm.
Sometimes when I'm networking, I see that people aren't even
Mhm.
connected. They'll
Right.
say, "How are you doing?" And then they'll hurry up and go on to the next subject. Well, you didn't even really care how I was doing. You just said it out of
Hmm.
habit. So many people moving around with all these different habits. Um, it's always my challenge, and it's always something that I would like for people to do is to just kind of
Mm.
slow down and find out who you are. Who are you? Who are you?
Yes.
Do you even like
Yes.
yourself?
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Do you even like yourself? I love that. How powerful the question is that? And who you being in
Yeah.
that moment? You know, it's such a privilege to connect with another human being. And I work with a mentor of mine who used to have on the back of her business card, it's a privilege to be in the space of another human being. And it's so
Mm,
easy to forget that. Now, lucky with COVID, we've kind of learned that to be in the same space as someone is a precious gift and something we may not take for granted in the future.
right.
But it's exactly that. You're absolutely right. Like, take a minute. Like, I'm connecting with you right now, who is a unique expression of magical source, right out there. What can I learn? What gift can you be to me and I to you? It's such a precious thing. I love what you just said. It's so, so true.
Well, thank you so much. I'm always the kind of person that I'm the person who listens to um, like motivational speakers, like people that
Hmm.
kind of get me out of my head. Because although I heard it 1,000 times, we all hear it 1,000 times. But it's like I can hear it one day, just like when you read the Bible. Sometimes you read
Yes.
it one day and it means a whole different thing, or it might not mean anything today. Next week it might mean the world to me. So a lot of people I see are not really in touch with who they are. And so it's like they're in a constant fight, and you can almost see it, like it's visual that you're
Hmm.
fighting to be somebody. And it's sometimes fighting to be other people, that
Yes.
you're not the person, and it's like you
Totally.
have to be yourself. We all do a resolutions at the beginning of the year. We want a vision board, and we want all of these things, and we want to meditate, and we want to just get to a
Hmm.
quiet space. All of this, I think, is all of us just trying to get back to knowing ourselves,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Reconnecting with our truth and who we are. I love that. Absolutely.
right? And I feel like a lot of times through the world, you're gonna lose yourself. Like you're gonna
Oh my
get to a
gosh.
place where, like, where did I go? Like,
Right? Yes,
like
especially
seriously,
when you have that gift and that skill of being able to be the chameleon, where you can come into a space, especially empaths, and like you're so used to matching people's energy and their body language, and you create this beautiful safe bubble of trust, which I sense you do, because it's interesting how we connected. And like you said, I was buzzing for days after the last time we just chatted. Like it's just that resonance and that vibe, and it's so easy to create that for other people, and be that space, and then not recalibrate to your own truth, and choose to flourish and be you in that moment. It's one of those gift curse things again with the perfectionism, as it is with being the chameleon. So absolutely agree with you there. And all you're really seeking to connect with is that person's truth, like their core, like what drives them and what they're striving for, and learning about their genius. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
right? And I know that it happens a lot in business and in personal relationships. It's like
Really.
you're always trying to find out, like, what's the truth about this person? Like,
Right.
what's their character? What's the core of like what makes them tick? Like, what
Yes.
things is it that if I say and if I do, what things really move them? And I watch people who are
Mm.
passionate about things, and I watch how they light up, or they're like, oh my God, that's great. And I've known that, like, I've been around people who said that you have like really good energy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you give me good energy. Like afterwards, I thought I could do anything in the whole world. And
Right.
I'm like, wow, that's a gift to have because I don't control it. It's just something that
Yes.
happens. And
Comes
once you lose
through you.
control of it, yeah, and just let it happen.
I love
In
that.
business,
Surrender is a powerful thing.
right,
Surrendering to that is a powerful thing, because it just like flows through you, and next minute people are like, what, she's amazing, like just love to be around your energy, and then they light up and it raises their vibration and they're all like kicking around, which is awesome. And that's what we want to see on the planet, right?
Right, more of that, especially now when everybody's so separated and there's so much going on that we have really taken the time to go in the house and learn who you are, learn what your next move is. Because right now in business, and I always say
Mm-hmm.
this on the glow, you wanna be focused on your business, and you want to be able to focus on family and relationships. You want to have everything in balance. You can't have
Yes.
the same attitude with every single thing that you're doing, because
Mm-hmm.
it takes you out of balance, and then it's no good for anybody. And the same energy, a high energy person, the low energy person can come in and suck the life completely out
Oh
of
my gosh.
everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that recalibration, there's so much power in learning how to recalibrate to your core, to your truth, to yourself, and being able to do that really quickly. And that's one of the things that, again, I'm fascinated with and specialize in is what else is there that can help me recalibrate in a heartbeat, because that's where my flow is. That's where my genius just spills over. That's where I can make the biggest impact in the world, because I'm recalibrated with my truth, with my core. And I think that if the majority of us lived in that flow space, can you imagine what we would create? The genius that would come into this world, that excites me. Like that lights me up. And if I can help people recalibrate left, right, and center, if they can feel themselves slipping out, then I will see them pop and I'll be like, oh my gosh. And we get to experience that with more and more people as we go along.
Right. And with a lot of people who are starting businesses and they're passionate
Mm-hmm.
about it, or some people just start it for money, you can always see the difference. Like people who are passionate about something, whether you
Mm-hmm.
are baking the best cookies on the planet,
Right.
or it's like when you're passionate about every single ingredient that you put into your
Mm-hmm.
business, you can taste that.
You can taste it. I totally agree. I have this running joke when I make coffee or tea or and they go, oh my gosh, this is so much better than ever before. What do you do? And I was literally like, this is made with love.
Right.
It's
I
made with
always say that.
presence and consciousness. Like every step that I take and every move that I'm making in that very simple act is done with absolute presence and consciousness. It makes the world of difference. Absolutely.
It does. And even with little small things, like you say, cooking,
Mm-hmm.
some people cook with love and some people cook
Mm-hmm.
just to eat food. And
Right.
it's two different things. When people put
Mm-hmm.
love into what they do on even the smallest, tiniest ingredient, it really shows. It
Oh,
shows up for other people.
all we have is right now. That's what I lost myself in the past is I was so. And it's funny with all of the conscientious influences that I work with, there is, because of the level of perfectionism and that conscientiousness about other people around them, there becomes an addiction to dissatisfaction, because like you said, it's never the thing. So we've climbed the mountain, but it's not the mountain because there's this mountain, and when we get to this peak we can see the next peak, and so we continue, but that's not promised, and this isn't promised either. So when we sink into the moment of right now, all needs met, and this amazing food is what is going to nourish my body, and this is where I am. I'm not there, I'm not here. The kids are being picked up from all those things. The magic of everything comes together in that moment, because we're out of here, we're into there, and we're present. But it's not as easy as it seems, and it's not something we're actually taught very often when we're little. So it tends to be something that we learn later on, once we break down or have a health scare or lose someone precious to us. It takes something significant to really like shake us and wake us up and go, hello, this isn't promised. And the past is the past. Like, here we are. And I often find myself practicing that, sinking into the present moment. This is what I have, grateful for what I have right now, and adding that consciousness to the minute. So it's a powerful
Yes,
thing.
that's really good. I do that as well. It's been so many times I've been so busy and I'm just running and running and running. And then every now and again I stop and I'm like, okay. how do I feel? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I, like, how am I feeling right now? Because sometimes
Mm,
I will run myself more than what I can actually take at the moment. And then
yeah.
that's when you notice you drop things, you make the wrong turn, something goes off in your whole spirit, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm a little bit off. I need to slow
Yes.
down. You tell people all the time, slow down,
Hmm.
like don't hurry, and kind of put yourself back together, because sometimes we look to the future so fast that we forget about today, what's going on right
Yes.
now and today. And with all these people we're losing on a daily basis because of a disease, time has become very
Mm,
precious, more
it
precious than it
has.
has ever been. So what kind of advice would you give somebody who is passionate about starting a business, or
Mm.
creating a relationship with someone that they want to be in business with? What advice would you give?
I would say it's easy to stay in your head. So take a minute, get present, and really sink into the energy of what it is that you sense is true. Because most people have a gut sense about what it is that they want to do or what it is that they want to pursue. But they second guess that and then they'll talk themselves out of it with their mind. Is it a good choice? They'll overthink it. Like, is this the right person? Is it not the right person? You really do know if you're not up here.
Hmm.
So I think the challenge would be to go, okay, and often it comes from confusion, and confusion is a wonderful way to keep us out of our hearts and in our heads and away from making those intuitive decisions. So if we can notice, the first step in anything is awareness. Like, are we running confusion? Are we trying to figure out how this is going to work? Are we overthinking things? Like, where are you all in your head? If you are in your head, take a minute and take a breath. Notice that you're not present in the minute. You're probably projecting into the future or the past or both. Sometimes, especially with relationships or businesses that haven't quite gone the way that we want them to, what we tend to do is we have a memory. And then we take that memory, which comes with sometimes some pain and discomfort, and then
Hmm.
we use it as like a warning sign to project it into the future, right? But we're really powerful. And if that's what we've experienced and that's what we're expecting, that is often what we get.
Right.
So it's noticing, is this a past based experience that I'm putting into my future? Am I making this choice or trying to process this decision from the past? If that's what you're doing, you have the opportunity to choose whether you still want to do that or not. But the minute that you know that that's what you're doing, that's what you're going to create. So I'd say take a minute, notice where you are. Are you projecting from the past or the future? If you're doing either one of those, I'd say collapse it and go, okay, who am I now? Who am I being? And what is true for me in this minute? And try something. I think there's a lot of fear, especially around business, where people are like, I'm going to make the wrong choice. And especially with conscientious individuals that I tend to work with, they don't want to get things wrong because we're
Hmm.
perfectionists. So we need to do the right thing in the right way with the right people. So there is this massive tendency to overthink something and to step into fear. And that's all created in the mind. If we can collapse that and sink into the heart space, take a deep breath for a minute and go, would this be fun? Does this align with my passion? Does this give me a sense of freedom? Is there a sense of joy and fun in this? And then go, is this true for me? Then I'd step into it. That's what I would do. So when
Right.
I come up against situations where I'm confused and I collapse the projection, reconnect with my motivators, which are here, which are passion, freedom, and love for me, then I know that I'm stepping into a true choice for myself. And I'm not saying throw caution to the wind and like ride off
Right.
into the sunset irresponsibly, right?
Right.
But your gut will know. That's the thing. You will never be led astray by the truth that is for you. But most people don't even know what that feels like. Sadly, we know what this
Exactly.
sounds like. We don't know what our truth feels like. And so often with my clients, I'll say to them, okay, where does that voice that talks to you not so kindly come from? Do you hear it here? Do you hear it here? Do you hear it there? Do you hear it from behind you? Now, in those moments where you've made a choice that you just know is the right thing, where does that feeling come from? Because often they're in different places. So for me, I'll hear that negative voice here, but I'll feel that intuitive push from here. So I know that when I ask a question and I feel something, which place it's coming from, then I can trust. But most people don't know how to do that.
Right.
unfortunately, you
Right.
know?
And it seems like it's almost like you said, it is a gift, but it's a gift that you kind of have to nurture, and you kind of have to. This is
That's
a
right.
gift that you have to open. Actually, you have to
Yes.
actually open this gift and take it out and explore it and use it. You
Yeah.
can't just take the gift and say, "Oh, thank you, I got it."
Right.
You actually want to use the gift that someone has given you.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
So a
there
lot.
is courage. There is
Mhm.
courage that's involved with taking that step, that first step. Most people second guess it because it's so unfamiliar. We're used to this.
Right.
We're used to the overthinking. We're used to the processing and the, like all the linear stuff. We're not used to hearing that intuitive nudge. So when we feel it, it feels good, and then we go, oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Too good.
That's
Too good. Right.
unfamiliar,
Right.
right? Often it's too good.
It's
It's
too good.
exactly what it feels like, and it's like,
Hmm.
we must overthink this. So
Right.
it's that disconnection immediately. So
Right.
it
Right.
is. It's
That fear. It's fear
right,
that comes in
right.
like, oh, you're gonna mess up.
Oh,
People worry about
people,
other people so much. And
totally.
and and to me, people are worrying
Mm,
about people that are broken and just as flawed as them. So I can't worry about somebody judging me when the person judging me probably has no idea who they are, or they wouldn't even spend so much time to worry about me.
right,
Because
right,
we
right.
all have our own things to get into.
We do.
Do.
Absolutely. And often it's easier to look outside.
Right.
It's easier to look outside ourselves to at somebody else and to reflect on their situation because that's what we see so much of. It's rare for us to see people, and it's more common now, thank goodness, to see
Yes.
people go, that's not about me. What's true for me or what's going on for me or what I'm focused on right now is totally me. I've got so much work to do on myself. I don't have time to worry about anybody else's stuff. Like they're on their journey. I can offer compassion and love and space, but it's at the end of the day, it's their journey, it's their choice, it's their timing.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad you're here today on the Glow with us. It's a privilege and an honor. The reason why I created it and why it's
Hmm.
called the Glow is because
Yes.
I believe that in dark times and in dark
Hmm.
places, anything that glows always glows, you know?
I love it.
So people who are trying to get their lives together as far as
Mm,
whether it be business or relationships, or you're trying to get purchase things, or you're trying to achieve better health, all of that,
mm,
all of those things are, like you said, between your mind and your heart, where you're kind of like if I felt better, I would do this. Like people who exercise, it's like, oh, if I had more energy, I would exercise. But it's like if you actually exercise, you'd have more.
you'd have more energy. Totally. 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 It's an interesting analogy that we use when we talked about that, which is what I was talking about with the confusion. We
Hmm.
call them projections, and it's the tape that we put in that determines the movie that we watch. So it's a funny thing. Like you wouldn't pay to go watch a comedy at the theater or the cinema, and then suddenly there's a horror on, right?
Right.
Because they put the film in that
Hmm.
is the comedy, so you get the comedy, and
Right.
yet we don't connect the same thing to our thinking. So we go, when the screen is showing me comedy, I'll feel happy, rather
Hmm.
than let me put the comedy in and I'll see the comedy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
There's
Right.
this disconnect between what I think and the tape that I'm playing, or the DVD or the movie that I've chosen to play in my mind is actually what is showing on the screen of my life. There is this, when the screen of my life is perfect, then, but the screen on your life doesn't determine what is running in your mind. It doesn't change the film. So it's a little bit backwards.
Hmm.
And when we learn to shift that around, our realities completely change. So you're absolutely right.
Right.
You hit the nail on the head.
Right. And there's so many. We listen to a lot of people who motivate us and
Mm,
come to inspire and uplift us. And it's like almost like drinking water. It's like you get thirsty for that. It's like you had the water before, but on a hot day, water tastes way different than it does on a cold day. You know,
right?
it's like a whole different
Absolutely.
a whole different feeling. So I'm going to ask you some of the questions from our question book.
Yes.
We are,
Okay.
okay, so we did number 12. So you have between
Yes.
1 and 45, actually. So what's your next
Let's
number?
go with 8.
Number 8. Number 8, it says if you can ask someone for advice,
Mm.
who would you ask and what would you ask?
Ooh. Mm. I would probably ask Nelson Mandela because I'm from South Africa
Mm-hmm.
and originally, so South African born, but been living in New Zealand for the last 12 years. So I would ask Nelson Mandela, and I want one of the things that I really want to know from him because I mean, the level of forgiveness that he, wow, just embodied, I would say, embodied, considering his journey and considering the impact that he had on South Africa. I'd want to know what his top tips would be on that level of forgiveness, to really express, like, to heal that, because I've noticed so much suffering in the
Mm-hmm.
world that people that we feel as human beings,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of that comes from the inability to forgive. There are things that hurt us, and some very valid, things that happen to us, and that inability to forgive the circumstances or the people or the surroundings and cause a lot of suffering. And in my world, he not only did he overcome that, but he brought a nation together and built a beautiful foundation for what we today celebrate as the Rainbow Nation. So I would
Oh,
love to know, like, what is his top tip on that forgiveness piece, and how do you support a whole nation, like groups and groups and masses of people, to genuinely step into that space of compassion and love, that genuine, like we were talking about before, that seeking to connect genuinely with another human being and end that survival mechanism of everybody is a threat. Do you know what I
right.
mean? And end that suffering. So that's probably what I would, yeah, that's probably who I'd want to talk to.
Well, that is an amazing person to ask a question to. And it's funny because forgiveness is something that you can't teach. Like you can't teach a
No.
person
Mm.
how to forgive. It's so individual and it's so
Mm-hmm.
uh, personal for each person.
Mm.
I have known people
Yes.
that the smallest thing they cannot
Mm-hmm.
forgive.
Mm.
And it's like, no matter what you tell them, no matter what's going on,
Yeah.
it's like they still want to hold on to it. Like we
Mm-hmm.
say, and especially like I say in business, like you failed one time,
Right.
not doing it. I'm never going to do it again. This business partner took all my money, ran off, but it's like you have
Mm.
to keep going no matter what, because
Yes.
if you're on
Yes.
your way to a destination, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter if there's a roadblock, a detour, you still have to keep proceeding where you are
Yeah.
destined to go.
It's
So
true.
yeah.
Yeah, and I've noticed there's a difference between intellectually forgiving someone. Like,
Mhm.
people think that they've forgiven, they'll tell you, "Oh, I've forgiven that person," but you can feel the pain that they still hold in their body just thinking about the instance or the business deal that went sideways or the relationship that ended badly. You can feel that lack of integration, and I don't know. Like, you're right. We don't get taught. We don't get taught how to experientially forgive, to like fully resolve in every way, shape, or form. And actually, recently, it's interesting because forgiving myself is one of
Wow.
the opportunities for me to learn how to grow in this area hugely because of the perfectionism, right? We don't like to fail. We like to get things right. Things need to be perfect. We don't. In fact, for me to mess up the first time is like the worst thing, used to be the worst thing in the world for me, right?
Mhm.
It was like the end of the world. You can ask my parents. My mom will joke about this all the time. I'd come home from school and it would be like report card day. It
Mhm.
didn't matter how well I did. It could have been straight A's. It was never enough. It was never enough. And I was always so hard on myself about it. So, but that forgiveness piece, like, I understand that
Mhm.
there's learning and growing, and I always have, but the forgiveness on the lack of perfection side has been an opportunity for me. And even still to today, there's an opportunity for me to really experientially celebrate my perceived failures,
Mhm.
that lack of perfection as growth opportunities. and forgiving myself for the punishment that I've, like yielded to like I put on myself. It's
Right,
crazy
right.
the level of like that, like self, flagellation.
Punish
It's not
ourselves.
right. It's not required at all. And so that's a big opportunity for me today. Still is learning to really let go of that
Mhm.
and forgive myself for that and integrate it in to the point where one of the things that I test myself with is I know I'm integrated in forgiveness of myself when I can celebrate some of the worst things that
Mhm.
I've done
Mhm.
or have happened
Right,
in my life, like some of those choices I've made. So
right.
it's
And
a work in progress.
it's always progress. And that's why I tell entrepreneurs, don't give up. Even if you try one thing that's not working out for you, try something else. See if that works
Right?
out for you. Try
Mm-hmm.
something else. Each thing is not a failure. It's kind of just a navigation of trying to get you where you need to be. But every time you start something, you can't look back and say, oh, well, no one ever bought when I was selling flowers, and now no one's gonna
Mm-hmm.
buy when I'm selling makeup, and no one's gonna do it.
Right.
And it's like we are the ones usually who talk ourselves out of it, and then we hear
Yes.
our family, we hear our friends in the background like, "You're a failure. You
Yeah.
tried it so many times. Like, just give it up." But it's like we hear that even before the other person says it to you.
Yes. Yes. And then when they say it, you're like, see, I was
Confirm.
right. Right. Confirm. Exactly. And you're like,
Right.
oh, totally. And one of the best pieces of advice that I've given is be careful who you listen to about what you're seeking. So if you're seeking like successful business advice, are you talking to somebody who's successful at business, or
Right.
are you talking to somebody who has a job? Like
Right.
either, just look for the right expert to seek advice from and get confirmation from, because often we get that confirmation from people just around us, and they're
Right.
not necessarily the people that are successful in business or in relationship or whatever it might be.
And it's always that person that's scared to do something themselves is going to be the
Yes,
first person who discourage you is you to actually move forward and do what you want to do. It's
totally.
like everybody wants to save you from the failure, but you have to do it. You have to just
Oh,
go ahead. You have to just go forward, move forward.
yeah.
If it's a business you're going to start, go ahead. If it's a relationship that you're,
Hmm.
in your gut if it's good or if it's
You
not.
do.
Don't extend yourself too far if you
Hmm.
don't know exactly how it feels to get reciprocated with all of the
Hmm.
different things. Like if I'm going with a person and we're working on business together, I
Hmm.
know whether the person is a good person to do business with after a few times and transactions.
Yeah.
And you kind of learn their character because character is everything.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Who that person is at their core. Often I'll say the best thing to do is to watch someone in a difficult situation, because
Hmm.
it's easy to be a certain self in an
Hmm.
easy situation where things are going well, right? It's very
Everybody
interesting to
has.
observe people, right? It's interesting to observe people when things are just a little bit tougher and to see what comes out of them then. It's that analogy of if you're walking around with a cup of coffee and someone bumps you, the coffee spills out, right?
Hmm.
If you're walking around with a cup of tea and somebody bumps you, tea is going to spill out. So,
Hmm.
what's spilling out of your cup when you're being bumped around?
Mm.
That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know in
Right.
those situations.
Yeah, because that changes everything. Like even when you're in a
Hmm.
relationship, how someone reacts at a
Yes.
difficult time lets you know, like if you can actually go forward with this person.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
if they get erratic and they start making all these different choices, then you're kind of like, wow, like
Yeah.
somebody has to get in the center here and kind of just slow it down and put it all
Hmm.
together. We both can't freak out all at the same time.
Right. Unless that works for you, unless you guys are like the best in absolute chaos, then
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And as an event planner, a lot of different things over
Mm-hmm.
the years, I use a lot of the principles that I do when I coach my clients who do business. It's like we plan, we design, we
Yes.
coordinate, and then we execute
Hmm.
because it
Yes.
has to be a flow. Like if I can make something happen in one day, it could
Hmm.
anything could go wrong today. But it's like
Oh,
you still have to keep going. It's a one day thing. I can't say, well, I don't want to do the wedding because this happened, or we're not going to do this event because that
Exactly.
happened. It's like those moments you start learning, like, I have to push through.
And
And so,
those moments are the gold, because it's in that moment that you learn what your genius is, because the solution you come up with in that very moment is going to be unique and perfect. It's when we choose not to step into that moment, that we hesitate and we allow fear to create an excuse or an out for us, that we rob ourselves of the opportunity to really see ourselves shine. Like,
right,
that's the gift of those moments, is like, oh, it's that moment you're about to give up. I think they call it 3 feet from gold,
right,
that your
yeah,
genius is like just there. It's like right on the other side. So
right.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely. And event planning, amongst like many of your skills,
Yes.
um, is one of those gifts that really puts you in that position to explore who you're going to be in that moment, right?
Right, right. Because you have to deal with so many different people and personalities, and
Yes.
time is not on your side.
No.
Like it's gonna happen at 3 o'clock. It's gonna happen at 3 o'clock. It doesn't matter what happens at 1:59. It's like 3 o'clock is happening. Okay, so you have to
Mm-hmm.
through. So a lot of times when I'm dealing with people who are new entrepreneurs, I keep telling them, just
Mm.
keep going. Like when it gets real, real, real hard, don't stop. Just quit for the day. Quit,
Yes, that's
quit today.
right.
You know what? Have a whole rant and rave and say, I'm done. Today I'm
Yeah.
not doing anything else. I quit. I'm done. Every event I used to do, my whole staff would
Mm-hmm.
always laugh. After this, I would say, I quit. I'm not doing it anymore. They'd be like, what? I'm like, no, I'm done. Like I have did everything I could possibly do. I'm done.
I love it. I
And
love
at
it.
that moment, another client calls me and I say, yeah, I'll do it. Because it's a whole
Yeah.
different thing. You know, gotta keep going.
The circumstances are never the same. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to go back to our book. Pick a number for me.
Okay. Um, 36.
36. Let's see what 36 has to offer. 36. Oh, are you watching any series or anything interesting on
Hmm.
television right now?
That's a good question. I don't watch a lot of television. I watch a lot more YouTube, I guess. At the moment, I'm watching quite a bit of Joe Dispenza's work on
Mhm.
YouTube. Because what I like about it is the connection between the medical science and the esoteric quantum, like what people call woo woo. And I'm really enjoying the way that there's an explanation. So, for example, with like meditations, there's all sorts of different meditations out there, and I'm still learning, because by no means am I an expert in that. Let's be clear. And quietening my very active mind
Mhm.
was a challenge in the past, and there's so many different modalities that I love to do that, but it really does depend on my circumstances. And meditation is a curious thing, and not just the quietening of the mind, but the physicality of it, because I've struggled with body dysmorphia in the past, and so doing anything where I'm fully present in my body has become more I've become more and more aware of the fact that I tend not to do that. I tend to do it from here and not
Mhm.
necessarily from here. And I'm doing myself a massive disservice. So there's a lot of healing work that I've been doing here. And part of the meditations that I've been exploring recently have been about using your body to move the energy around, which is really confronting for me when I'm not somebody who likes to be in this body, like other than dancing, which is hilarious. People like,
Right.
you're a Zumba instructor. Like, how have you avoided this? You've done ballet for 13 years. What is this disconnection from your body business? It's just that mental, like, criticism, I guess, the lack of perfection. So
Right.
with Dr. Joe Dispenza, I'm enjoying his work at the moment around the science behind that moving of the energy and the feelings. And so that's what I'm watching at the moment. I watch more stuff on YouTube because I can speed it up and slow it down, and all the things.
Right. Right. YouTube has become such a wealth of knowledge. Like there's so many things that you never thought you can do, and then all of a sudden you just type it up. How can I learn how to do
Right.
this today within the next 5 minutes? And you can
Yes.
learn so many things, and it's beneficial. A lot of people are they looking for answers here and answers there.
Mm.
Right now, it's just at our fingertips, and it's so
Oh, I'm
easy.
so blessed.
Hmm.
I'm grateful,
So
because I mean, gone are the days of Encyclopedia Britannica, where I have to go
right,
look up an index book and go find the book. Like
Right.
things have changed. I don't go to the library. I can just get on Google. It's fantastic. I'm so grateful for technology.
Right, right. Technology lets you, I can Google the image, I can find out I can see the video, I can see someone else do it, I can see how
Mm.
it probably looks. So it is so helpful to us to be able to use all the technologies right now in our business, in our relationships, like the online dating now. It's like everybody's in
Right?
the house and everybody's trying to date someone who's not present. You can't meet up with them
Right.
really, so you
It's
have to
true.
start really once
Mm.
again, just keep learning who you are because, and not
Mm.
hide behind all the social media.
True. It's so easy. Isn't it so easy to look around and look at these? This is that perfectionist thing. All the perfect lives, all the, and it's like, what's really going on behind there? I was just looking at somebody on Instagram today. She's in the fitness industry. And I
Mhm.
so love her posts because she posts so authentically about. So I took this beautiful photo and I contorted my body like this and I sucked it in and I took this lighting. And then she put the second photo, which was like, all right, here's what it really looks like.
Right.
And I was like, it's so refreshing because behind the scenes, she's like, I should be exercising more. And my feed is full of people who are eating these foods and are doing more cardio. And she's like, she so quickly got into her mind about what she should be doing more of that she's not. And so she
Mhm.
decided she's done with that. She's done with the perfect ideal. Like, this is real life. There are things going on for her. Her body's changing. She's getting older. She was like, I'm done. I'm done with looking at what I'm perceivably not. And I just sat there and I thought, it's just so, that pulls on my heartstrings. Like, that is so authentic and real. And you're absolutely right. With technology, it's easy to be behind the mask, to be behind whatever we want to show people rather than what's
Right.
actually going on in our lives. Yeah, you're so right.
And it's giving people like a false sense of failure because they're
Hmm.
thinking, oh, I have the same business as this person and I'm not as successful as them.
True.
Why is that? Because they look like everything's going fine. And then you get to know the actual person. They're like, wow, I'm really struggling.
Yeah, right?
Trying to get it all together. It's not coming together.
Mm,
So I want to
absolutely.
ask you a little bit about,
Yes.
so you have a program that you have a service. How do people like reach out and start to work with you and like what kind of clients do you use?
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for asking the question. The best way to reach me at the moment is socials. So I'm on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn. And
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is my favorite platform. So I am the leadership alchemist, and my brand is the Alchemy of Life. And I work with conscientious influencers. So they
Mm-hmm.
can be leaders. I switch from leaders to influencers purely because people have this idea of what leadership means.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because generally people go, I don't have a team, so I'm not a leader. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let's have that conversation because you are leading the way in your world in a very powerful way. So influencers have an impact on people around them. Conscientious is the key for me because conscientious individuals tend to be those overthinker, perfectionists, got everybody else in my world sorted, like spinning a million plates, like, I got this, everybody's good, right? And underneath, they're like, right? They're like holding up the world for everybody, and they do an amazing job at that. But in so doing, there's a piece missing. There's
Mm-hmm.
a piece of you that's like, you just know that there's something else for you. There is, you don't quite know what your purpose is. You don't quite know what your genius is. You may not even know what lights you up.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that I tend to work with. So anybody who's looking for that, I would love to hear from them and see if there's
Mm-hmm.
a possibility that I may be able to help that, because that's just a transformation piece, and
Right.
it's lighting them up, it's exploding.
Something happened with the sound. You're on mute right now because there was some
What's
interference or
that about?
something.
Can you hear me
There
now?
you go. There you go.
Oh my goodness, craziness.
There you go.
So
But
does that
yeah,
answer the question?
yes, it does because a lot of people I notice they they go get a business plan, and then they go get a business account and a business certificate and a business license. And mentally, are you
Yeah.
prepared to have a business? Like, is some do
Mm.
you have you scheduled time to take care of your business and yourself and balance? Um, are you mentally ready to deal with things that might not go right, or are you mentally able and available that if something happens in the business that you need to make changes, are you available for that?
Yeah.
So sometimes
Yeah.
people don't realize that it's not all about the plan, the business plan, and what you've written down. Sometimes,
Mm.
and it's your plan. To me, anything in my business, we could change from 1 minute to the next. I've had a
Hmm.
phone call with a person that could make me change my whole. Nope, we're not doing that anymore. And someone told me, "It's
Totally.
your
You're
business."
like,
Right?
okay.
Okay, we stopped doing that as of
Man.
today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the control you have to have when you really know who you are and what's going
Yeah.
on within yourself and what will make you happy in your business.
Yes.
Because I can't just do what pleases somebody else. I have to have a unique business
Mm.
that is unique to me,
Yes.
take full ownership of what I am providing to the world. Whatever
Mhm.
service I'm providing, I have to take full ownership of that.
Love it.
So
Yeah.
so it's something that people need to reach out and actually reach out to people who can mentor them and coach
Hmm.
them and talk with them. Because sometimes, like you said, everything is so in your head that you kind of can't get a clear picture of. Step one would be figure out what it is, what you're passionate about. Because
Mm.
anything, I always tell people, whatever you're not passionate about, you'll get tired of it really
Oh,
quick,
yes.
especially
Oh,
if you're not
yes.
getting paid. No
Yes.
money? Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. That's like the worst business of all. It's like
Hmm.
you're working away at it and you're doing all of these things and it's like you're not getting paid. So it's like I'm
Hmm.
tired of that.
Yes. Absolutely. And we don't want that. We want sustainability. So, one of
Right.
the things that I learned early on, because I've invested in a lot of personal development for myself, and I will continue to because I'm a lifetime learner, is that I really wanted something that would create a sustainable shift in myself. So, it wasn't something that created a little bit of a change for a little bit and then I kind of bounced back to where I was. I wanted something that tools that could really help me alter the way that I was thinking about something so I could show up being the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that because you're right. When you're up against it, especially in business, especially when you're out on your own
Mm-hmm.
and or you're up against a new relationship, you know, those vulnerable pieces where intimacy is key, you come up against yourself very quickly. You know,
Right.
it's not a comfortable place. So there are things that change all the time, and that dynamic shifting of like the playing field, the client going, all right, we're not doing this anymore, this, but the deadline is still the same. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
who
Right.
am I showing up as in this moment? And so I really wanted tools to help me with that so that I wasn't sacrificing a piece of myself. Because in the past, I could go in and be all of that and make those wonderful things happen and then be completely exhausted and spent at the end. So I really wanted to go in and be the catalyst, which in science is a molecule that goes in, it brings two things together to expedite a reaction, but it always comes out the other side as itself. It
Mm.
remains unchanged. And I was like, ooh, that's what I want
Wow.
to be more of, right? I want to come out and go, yeah, nailed that. And that was amazing. And now I'm ready for the next thing. I don't need like downtime and recalibrate and like, oh, because I've sacrificed myself in the process.
Right.
So that's been a significant shift for a perfectionist.
Yes, it is. And I'm a perfectionist. I have all of these things that I'm always like everything has to be perfect and everything has to be so organized and everything has to be this way and that way. So sometimes I purposely like I'll mess up things just so I have something to
Love
do.
it.
Because if
Yes.
not, like if I keep thinking of how perfect it's not. And I'm like, oh, I have to keep fixing
Yes.
this. So sometimes I just mess it all up and just say, I'm not gonna touch you right now.
Love
Let me walk away from it. I'll come.
it.
It's gonna still
Right.
be there.
It's still going to be there.
It's still gonna be
Absolutely.
there.
It's not
Yeah.
going anywhere because nobody else is going to fix it for you.
No one else is coming along to rescue me.
I love it. I
So
love it.
I have really enjoyed this time with you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for coming to the Glow. If
Oh,
anybody's watching the Glow today, we're at 4 o'clock and we are with Tarryn Winson, and she is bringing all the knowledge and all the power that comes from within. It's just having us to look within ourselves and get out of our head. Our head right now hears the news, the information. It's like so many things that are going on. Sometimes you just got to get within yourself and try to figure out what it is that you need to do. I'm going to ask you one more question from my
Okay, I'm ready.
pick a number.
All right. 24.
24. And tell Kyle I said hello, by the way.
I will. I will. He's just around the corner doing his thing,
Okay.
being
All right.
amazing.
Well, Kyle, hello. So number 24 is there ever a person that you wanted to prove wrong in your life?
Mm. Myself,
Hmm.
often myself.
Often yourself.
It's yeah, often myself. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I love the mind, like the stretch of my mind to test something. So when I find a belief or a point of view that I hold true, I think is true for me. I really like to seek out people who have a different perspective to help me pull it apart, show me the 9 of the 6 that I'm seeing. Like I want to be able to prove myself wrong, because what I know from being a scientist is that the more you prove and the more you learn, the more you know that you don't know.
Right.
So, like it's that, like, oh, yes, I nailed this. And you know what I know about knowing this now is that I don't know all of these things.
Right.
So, so I would say myself, because the more I know that everything is just an interesting point of view. And I have conditioning and beliefs, and I've grown up in a certain society. And the more that I can test that, the more I can know what's really true for me. When I tease something apart and I have people who help give me a different point of view, I can go, actually, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And now I have more questions, or I can go, no, I know where I stand on this, and this is definitely my truth. So the more I
Wow.
tease it out and I grow, because I'm also changing. Now, I'm not the same
Mhm.
person I was a year ago, and some of the things that I did then that I held true, I kind of questioned and gone, wow, is that really true for me, or is that true for the version of me that I was? So
Mhm.
it's that constant, like, how can I prove myself wrong? What else can I learn? Where else can I push and grow? So I probably say, yeah, myself.
Right. And that's is so important because like you say, I'm not who I was a year ago either. And such a short period of time, it
Mm-hmm.
seems, to just say last year, I was a whole different person. I
Right.
wanted a whole different thing. My life changed and all these different things happened. And so now it's like, okay, now I'm
Mm.
learning like this person is not that person last year. So when you
Yeah,
meet me, like whatever you're addressing from last year, I might not even remember it because I'm like, that's not me
it's true.
anymore. It's not
It's
what I
true.
do.
It's true.
It's not what I like.
I
Well,
love that.
thank
I
you
love that.
so much for
Oh, it's been
being
such a
here.
pleasure. Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you
It's so
so
nice to
much.
see your face, because the last time I just spoke to you, and I'm like, oh, I want to see, because your energy is so, like, it's just light, and I like it. So thank
Thank,
you so much. It's been a privilege.
thank you so much. And we will be in contact. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, we are sharing all of your social media and all that good
Thank
stuff
you.
because I think it's very important, very important. And I just want to
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
from the glow for showing up and glowing today. I know
Oh, I
anybody
love
who's
it.
watching got something out of this today, and I just want to thank you once again for being
A
here.
pleasure. It
All
was a
right.
pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And look after yourself and keep well.
Yes, I will. And I will talk to you soon. Well, thank you guys for being here on the glow with us today. I hope you learned something. I always try to bring you some type of valuable person that we can learn something from each and every week. So join us every Wednesday. We're here at 4 o'clock. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please come and send me an email. Reach out to me at vonshai.com. We've started up some masterminds where we're going to be talking to people who do have passion and want to make profit. So if you can go to vonshai.com, reach out to me. You get a 30-minute free consultation and we can see if we can glow you up and bring you into a different world so that you can be successful. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good week. Until I see you next time, keep on glowing.